I am James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina. A very exciting, brand new episode of the Carolina Weather Group starts right now. It is September 15th, 2021. I'm James Brierton, live in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have our Carolina Weather Group panel with us tonight, and we are talking about the SpaceX launch just within the hour. You may have seen SpaceX launching from Kennedy Space Center, their first, anyone's first, all-civilian launch to space in the Inspiration4 mission. We're going to show it to you in just a moment, that SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and the Dragon spacecraft launching from the historic Launch Complex 39A there in Kennedy Space Center. But the thing I'm really super excited about, and I know these guys are too, is we have photos and videos from you across the Carolinas showing us what it looked like here at home in the eastern sky for many of you, especially along the coast, but not for all of you, because as we take a live look at radar, you can see we've got scattered rain, some heavy, a little thunderstorm activity as well out there, in addition to some clouds, and that ruined the show for many of us here in Charlotte, in Morganton, North Carolina, where Scotty Powell is. But Jared's going to show us some of that video that some of you did manage to take in just a moment. So if you would like to share with us, you can tweet to us right now at Carolina WX Group on Twitter. It's Carolina WX Group on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook as well too, and we'll take a look at some of those coming up, and we'll hear from these guys in just a moment. But let's get right to it, guys. Let's roll that tape and look here, the final moments of countdown from Kennedy Space Center in Florida just an hour ago.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. So thank you. Go Dragon. Go Falcon. Godspeed Inspiration4.
Copy, 1 Alpha.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 30 seconds. Callouts indicate nominal. Historic mission flying the Inspiration4 crew. Onboard Dragon and Falcon 9. Great view of the crew in the capsule. We're into the throttle down, into the throttle bucket.
Stage 1 throttle down.
Throttling down in preparation for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. And then end the flight.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Stage 1 throttle up.
We're through the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Copy,
We're
1
throttled
Bravo.
back up, and 1 Bravo, the call out from space. That's one of the abort sequences. That is a nominal call. Everything continues to be good. Looks like a smooth ride for the crew.
And you can see them giving the thumbs up there. That is for quote-unquote regular people. They are certainly well-trained, knowledgeable, and experts, but they are not military. They are not NASA. And they're not really, really rich guys who own their own space company. So what is exciting about this is that it is the first step towards one day launching us regular people into space. Although, I don't know, guys, I don't see in my lifetime me being able to get to space affordably, but it is really cool. This is all automated. They have to push, as I understand, close to no buttons, and they're just driving this thing from California. But here in the Carolinas, folks like you at home were able to see this. Let's bring in Jared Smith. He is the keeper of the photos and videos tonight, so keep them coming. We'll look for your live comments in chat, but Jared, what are people showing us?
Yeah, we got lucky here in Charleston. Really along the entire South Carolina coast, we actually had. It was kind of funny. James and I, we were talking on the phone earlier. I was like, man, I don't feel good about this because we had some showers coming in not too long ago, and I was like, man, I don't know if we're going to get a good look at this. But as it turned out, we got lucky in the Charleston area, and we'll take my screen share here. And this one comes to us from Emily Koppel. Her father, Michael Koppel, took these photos on Kiowa Island. Is like, is this a SpaceX launch? Yep, absolutely. And some really cool shots. You can see, you just see that trail there. And the SpaceX rockets just put on such a great show. And I got to tell you, looking inside that SpaceX rocket, it's got to be really good that they're not flying on everything that's something that's built by the lowest bidder. I'm sure that it just looks really, really nice in there. And that is the way that I would want to go to space. It looks like they had a really smooth ride, as James said, and I'm really excited about that. So yeah, so this is what it looked like from the ground. This is from Emily. Thank you, Emily. At Total Return on Twitter got a really cool video here. Thought it was a UFO. Nope, it's an IFO. It's an identified flying object. We know exactly what this is, and put this, get this going. Allegedly, we were going to try and get this going. Okay.
It would be scary if you didn't know what it was or what was happening.
Well, I mean, there's some people who didn't know what was happening. All right, so we're going to fake this. We're going to, for some reason, it's not playing. So I'm just going to drag my my scroll wheel here. But you can kind of. You get the gist. This thing was hauling butt. Spacecraft are, they've got to move very quickly to achieve that escape velocity and get out of our way. And then Christian Morgan, Scotty, he's vacationing in Myrtle Beach. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's in North Myrtle Beach this week. So gotta get for you.
Christian Morgan from WFMY. Yeah, he got a really cool shot here. And then the other cool thing is that we had an ISS pass about 3 minutes after that. The International Space Station came by about 3 minutes afterward. So Skywatchers got one, lucky, and two, a heck of a show tonight, courtesy of the United States Space Program, cooperation with our international partners, and Elon Musk. So this is just a few of them. If you go off on Twitter, the videos are everywhere right now. It was really cool. It was really neat. Just before we went on, Dave Williams at Channel 4 here, WCIV, he was able to catch not only the liftoff but also the return, because remember the Dragon. We haven't cleared it, so I'm not running it. Literally just before we got on here, but the Dragon rocket, as we all know, it comes back to Earth. It's complete. It's a totally reusable system, and so we apparently were able to see the landing too. So that is pretty cool.
That is pretty.
We haven't mentioned yet one of the folks going into space. Christopher Simbrowski is actually a North Carolina native. Grew up in Kannapolis, North Carolina. So
really,
so he was one of the 4 members on the crew tonight. Went to school in Kannapolis, grew up throughout his high school years, and then moved off. But a North Carolina native on the spaceship tonight.
And they are no stranger to things going fast in Kannapolis. So that is
that's right.
Probably the fastest the Kannapolis native has ever traveled. So
he's got Dale Earnhardt beat by a couple of miles an hour.
Yeah, it certainly does. And Scotty just passed this one along to me. This is so cool. This is a 30-second exposure.
Look at that. Look at that trail. Look at that tail there.
Yeah, so cool.
And I feel Steve is a reporter at WBTV, and he's from my hometown, so we talk a lot. And he's been down there all week, and he's like, I've just been wanting to get one great sunset photo while I'm at the beach this week, and he hasn't been able to get it, but I think this makes up for that. So
I'm so glad you brought sunset up, because as I understand it, it's actually the setting sun that makes this possible, because it's backlighting it. I'm going to go to Dan in a moment for a little bit more science behind how that light works, but they actually had an angle of this from space. Take a look at what the sunset looks like from space shortly after takeoff.
There on your screen, you can see a sunrise horizon there with planet Earth just behind the glowing MVAC engine.
Okay, I stand corrected. That was the sunrise as they made it around the globe, but still really, really cool. And Dan, you weren't able to capture this rocket launch, but you're no stranger to capturing rocket launches. As we know, you caught one for us here on the Carolina Weather Group from the Outer Banks when this rocket took off from Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. So you're no stranger to this beautiful photography. What is it like, Dan, to see something like this and be able to capture it with your camera?
Right. Yeah, it must be pretty exciting having, for those who had a good view of it tonight. When you see this going through the sky, it seems surreal. You're watching something that is kind of going against the direction of anything that you would normally see in the night sky, and it's moving upwards, and it definitely doesn't look like anything else you've ever seen. So kind of a real interesting experience that connects us to these kind of greater human aspirations and things that we've been able to do that are bigger than just being on the surface of planet Earth. So you kind of feel all that in that moment, and it definitely sinks in.
I was trying to explain that to my 3-year-old. The concept of leaving Earth. If you're watching at home right now on our live broadcast here on Facebook, YouTube with Carolina WeatherNet, use that live chat box. We want to hear what your thoughts are on a launch like this, or if you could ever afford a ride to space, would you go? Very, very cool, exciting stuff out there. There's also, of course, they bring an object with them, a zero-G indicator. We've seen some of these in the past. I think it was a dinosaur previously. Well, tonight, their special zero-G indicator has a special meaning. Take a listen.
We can see the zero-G indicator floating around.
And it looks like it is a little golden retriever.
Oh, like the golden retriever assistance dogs at St. Jude Children's Hospital. That is apropos.
And they are doing a fundraiser tonight for St. Jude's on their YouTube page that SpaceX was launching tonight's stream on. So that was some synergy that they brought together there. Let everybody know here. We will have an update on the tropics coming up in just a few moments, because there are 4 areas in the tropics that we are watching very closely. But we still have more of these very exciting space photos to get to, including some fresh video from our pal Brad Panovich, who is in Florida in Disney, vacationing in Orlando. And we're going to run this. It's classic Disney, guys. Besides it being a little windy, you can hear like the theme park music playing in the background.
Nice.
But you can also hear Brad's raw excitement, him, his kids, his family. Take a listen.
Yep, there it is. There it is.
There's the sun.
Look. That is the Falcon 9. Oh, I can't believe we see it. That's awesome. There it goes. Go to space.
Bye.
So cool.
And Jared, you were talking about, the separation and the returning of the booster. Brad's got a view of that too. Take a look. It's really cool.
Oh, it just separated. There, now see that vapor trail? Now you'll see the booster rocket come back down. Watch. Look at that. That's that shock wave as the separation. There's the booster. It's coming back. Now watch, the booster will actually come back and land.
I'm sorry. I just love the music.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty good bop.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me, Jared, of your panelist playlist that we did this summer on our Spotify feed.
It does have a little bit of a local on the 8s flavor to it. Currently, the temperature is. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
reminds me of your TikToks.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. For those of you who are watching and who are not aware, I have found the retro weather channel niche on TikTok.
Yes.
And it's, quite frankly, it is the energy I feel like that we all need in the year of our Lord 2021. with all these things going on in the world. Sometimes you just need an old school orange local forecast. So but yeah, that was, it's just so cool to see normals. I think that's the thing. These are not like these are not like your typical, the right stuff kind of things. These are people just having fun, and the technology has evolved so much where it's not such a manual process, as you mentioned. They didn't really have a lot to do. And the user interfaces on the SpaceX on the SpaceX rockets are, just that alone looks really cool. So probably very user friendly and easy to use. You basically you would hope, right?
Tech support.
Well, you do. It's called Houston, right? Or
California.
Yeah. I guess it wouldn't be Houston in this case. Somebody yelling for Houston is like, no, we're not here. But no, it was really cool to see. This is going to be a memorable 3 days for this crew, and I hope they enjoy. I hope they're soaking in every minute of it.
They get 15 laps around the Earth for the next 3 days, I think, if I got that right.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're stuck at work tomorrow, just think about them.
Mm-hmm. And they are orbiting. The other thing, too, is that they are orbiting higher than the International Space Station.
That's wow.
So they are
actual space, not what.
Kind of. They have been added to the astronaut registry. The crew, these 4 have been added as people who have legitimately flown into space. So, right. Something tells me right now Jeff Bezos is on the ground in his cowboy boots, saying, "I wish that was me."
Speaking of that, Jared, I've been quiet because I seen something on Twitter this week, and I was trying to scroll to it, and I finally found it. Talking about all this, NASA has selected Falcon Heavy to launch GOES-U in 2024. So talking about space, here's our next GOES satellite that's going to be released, or I guess flown up into space in 2024. So just to kind of chime in, this is the weather effect of it, as well as we're going to get more GOES satellite data, and we all like that. So.
Oh yeah, GOES-T is the last one that's going to launch on an Atlas rocket, and GOES-T launches in January 2022. That is going to replace GOES-S, aka GOES-17, in the GOES-West position. So they don't have to deal with that loop heat pipe anomaly anymore, where they're losing water vapor data. So one more ride for GOES on the Atlas, and then, as Scotty mentioned here, we're going to go SpaceX for that.
And of course, it's worth mentioning that SpaceX right now is the only way that American astronauts can launch to the International Space Station from American soil. So I know there are a couple different companies out there who are all competing in this new version of the space race, but boy, SpaceX is really good at grabbing those headlines, guys.
Well, when you're first to market, that's that. If there's one thing about SpaceX, is the legacy of who runs SpaceX. Elon Musk, he came into this mainly because of PayPal. So he knows what it takes to build a product that ships. Sometimes.
And for anyone who claims they don't use PayPal, but you use Venmo, you're using
PayPal. Yeah.
Just like Instagram is Facebook.
Yeah. But so you have this really cool ingenuity, and I know that the people there have put in just intense, long hours to get to this point, and I'm sure that they absolutely love. I would hope anyway that they absolutely love seeing the fruits of their labor go up and come down and land like a James Bond movie, like every time. I can't get over it.
So normal. The fact that when we first went to space, everyone stopped, everyone watched it. Even shuttle launches used to be carried on the networks, and it was a thing to view. And now I'm putting it on my phone while giving the kid a bath or doing something else. It's really cool and impressive. but it's almost normal now. I don't know if that's good or bad.
In a way, this is what they were aiming for with the shuttle program, if you think about it. Because the shuttle program, the intent behind the shuttle program was to launch that thing like 12 times a year, something like that. Just have constant space exploration. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. It ended up being far too expensive, and in a couple cases, far too dangerous. But the that was the idea behind the shuttle program. But now, as it turns out, the shuttle program maybe was just a little ahead of its time. Turns out that the standard rocket model actually can be very reusable, even more reusable than the space shuttle, because the space shuttle would jettison the fuel tank, and that would burn up, and then you would have the boosters would come back, but that fuel tank, that huge orange fuel tank, that would burn up. So that was a lot of there's still plenty of waste with that. So it's really cool. I'm glad that we're getting to see this.
Anybody want to take a gander without opening the link of how much it's going to cost to ship Goes-U into space? How much do you think it costs?
I'm deciding if it's millions or billions.
I was a little taken back. It wasn't as much as I thought it would be. $152.5 million, which I would thought would be more than that. I would thought at least $500,000 or something, but not that 152 million is chump change or anything, but I thought it might be a little bit more than that. So
yeah. Well, to Jared's point, yeah,
reusability, economies of scale.
That's how you win contracts too.
That's right.
Well, very cool stuff. Dan, we hope the next time the clouds don't ruin our fun, so we can get you back out there.
That's right. Yeah, and if you're someone at home and you want to kind of capture this thing the next time we have a good launch, just a couple things to keep an eye on are the visible satellite. If you have the ability to either look at your local forecast or just look at a visible satellite map, you can see which clouds are coming in, and then of course try and film with a steady hand. If you can get your hands on a camera that has a telephoto lens, that's helpful as well. And but otherwise, hopefully we'll get another shot at seeing one of these soon.
Tips from the expert. I love it. We'll keep an eye on what they've got coming out of Florida, but of course, we've really fallen in love this year with wallops in Virginia as well too, especially if you're in like eastern North Carolina. It's right there for you. Well, speaking of weather satellites, we're keeping an eye on the tropics. There are 4 areas of interest, including the remnants, or what will be the remnants of Nicholas, that will be pushing east after making landfall in Texas, bringing lots of rain and flooding to the Gulf Coast, a place that doesn't need it. A place that could use some rain is here in the Carolinas, and we'll have a chance for some rain, either from Nicholas or from that red blob you see on your screen there. That is an area of possible development. And when I say possible, we're talking a 70% chance of development here into a tropical depression in the next 48 hours. So that will bring a little moisture to the Carolinas. We'll also have a cold front moving in. So we've had high pressure the last few days, beautiful Carolina blue skies where it wasn't smoky. And today you saw the kind of beginning transition to more showers, more clouds, and that ramped up chance. So let's take a look at this, guys. Here, the latest from the National Hurricane Center out just in the last hour or so. This low pressure system, again, currently off the coast of Florida and going to kind of scrape up the East Coast and come fairly close to the Carolinas. It's a low pressure system associated right now midway between the Bahamas and Bermuda. It's producing poorly organized shower activity. Now, the Air Force went out there. They flew their Hurricane Hunter aircraft. We've seen them and talked about them on this show through the system earlier this afternoon and reported that the circulation was disorganized and that the strongest winds were well to the east of the center. So it still has some organizational ground to make up. Environmental conditions expected to become more conducive for development, and tropical depression is likely to form during the next day or two, which is in line what we've been telling you on our nightly YouTube videos, that by the time we get to Thursday, but more likely Friday, this thing could be organized into a tropical depression, either Odette or Peter. Regardless of development, this system could bring high surf to portions of the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic, including the beaches of the Carolinas. And guys, we've seen this with some storms this year. You think about Ida, you think about Fred. the categorization doesn't always matter. It's the impacts. And so we really want to drive home to folks tonight that the impact here could be rough surf, and that could be deadly in its own form if you get caught in a dangerous rip current. So if you have plans at the beaches this weekend, please do be careful. Two other areas of interest we're watching out in the Atlantic. We've got another one with a very high chance of development. Good news is it's a long ways out there. The bad news is it's a long ways out there and has lots of room to organize and grow. So we'll keep an eye on that and see which way that ultimately does go. And another disturbance kind of just maybe flirting coming off the coast of Africa there. So if we look at some of our computer models, and you guys can feel free to chime in on what you think might be garbage or accurate. We'll start with the NAM, and you can start to see as we go through the next overnight hours. Here's the rain associated with the cold front. Then we have some of the rain associated with the remnants of Nicholas. And then just at the bottom of your screen here, you're going to start to see that low pressure system that we were just talking about as we make our way into later on Thursday. Clouds, scattered showers, some of which could be heavy, not widespread continuous across the two states or anything like that. But you can see here, at least on the NAM model, how close it kind of comes. You can see some of the wind barbs here along the Outer Banks. So it could be windy, could be rainy at times. But again, that rough surf is really going to be the headline. And that's going to really be the case for everyone along the northeast, mid-Atlantic, southeast coast. So if you're watching on Peter's New Jersey weather page tonight, you'll have some impacts from this as well, too. You can even see it, guys, on the surface prediction maps here that the NOAA Weather Prediction Center puts out. You can see they actually get that low pressure center pretty close right there to the Outer Banks. Do you guys think there's a chance that this could technically make landfall by skirting that Outer Banks?
Well, we don't have a system yet. I think that's the first thing. We don't have a close center yet. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So that's always a tough call here.
Yeah. I think it's going to be just enough off. I think the rough surf is going to be the big thing. And that's been, Jared, you could talk to this. That's been the big thing for the Carolina coast this hurricane season, not necessarily direct major impacts, but it's been more surf. I mean, we have our internal system, and it's every day. It seems like the Weather Service in Wilmington and Charleston and reporting rip currents all throughout the Carolina coast, and that seems to be the big thing this year so far. And rip currents are definitely dangerous, but if that's all we have to contend with this year, I think we'll count that as a blessing. But that's been the biggest thing with all these tropical systems, and I think with this system, if it becomes named or not named, I think rough surf is going to be another issue for the weekend here on the Carolina coast.
Yeah, I promised during Fred that I would never say it's only this strong. You can see here from Tropical Tidbits some of the computer renderings, and it's forecast to stay within a tropical storm, characteristic, and not necessarily strengthen into a hurricane. But we'll remind folks that so was Fred when it came across the Carolinas. We had just kind of that was a depression, right, at that point, if I recall. Yeah. Yep. But again, I think rough surf is kind of the number one. Rough surf, including rip currents.
Maybe some gusty showers. Yeah.
Gusty showers. But I think between the cold front, Nicholas, and this guy, we'll get some rain here across the Carolinas, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We've had some fairly warm, enjoyable days, and I had to get back into the habit of running the sprinkler. So if it saves me from running the sprinkler for a couple days, I like free water.
I'll send this over to you. I was just looking at it while you were talking about it, James, and this is the latest drought index, and this will be updated tomorrow. But, there's still a good portion of the Piedmont from Charlotte up to Raleigh and then back over towards Fayetteville and the PD region of South Carolina that's still abnormally dry. And as you were saying, James, we've got that cold front and the moisture from left over from Nicholas moving into the area, but I don't think it's going to be a widespread rain event that's really going to alleviate these dry conditions. And I wouldn't be surprised to see tomorrow when the new update comes out that this drought index, at least the abnormally dry part, really starts to expand maybe up towards the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area as it continues just to be dry and warm. And speaking of warm, Jared, looking at the Climate Prediction Center for the rest of the month of September, it's got the big red bullseye over the East Coast. So for the fall lovers, it's not fall yet. Even if the calendar says it's about to turn fall.
Yeah, it was so funny that you mentioned that because I was literally just looking at that, and I don't think I'm sharing my screen anymore. So, Scotty, whatever voodoo you're doing to look at my screen, I am actually really scared now. But yeah, we're going to be. It's actually nice to see some troughing develop in the west, but they're still going to be below normal. Like they just can't catch a break out there with the fires. They are going to see some above normal precipitation out towards the Seattle area in Washington, which is at least good, but it's probably not going to be enough to get on top of the fires out there. So we may still be contending with wildfire smoke from time to time over here. I mean, it gets transported across and everything there. But yeah, we're going to have a pretty good ridge setting up to the north. And I would, in a corollary to that, something to watch again is
ridge over troubled waters.
Precisely. And so, we want to keep an eye on that closely. We want to see what is going on out there, just by the Cabo Verde Islands. Let's see how things develop out there. A lot of time to watch that, but certainly that's the kind of pattern that we would want to watch for a little bit, in case, for an enhanced, that's a strong word, an uptick in the risk.
Don't let your guard down just yet.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, don't let your guard down just yet. And the good news is it'll feel like summer, so that you get that summer feel. It still feels like hurricane season, and that actually can go a long way psychologically to staying prepared. So definitely want people to do that. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna get in the next 6 to 10 days, looking at the precipitation outlook too. We're going to have some above normal precipitation, especially across most of South Carolina and Western North Carolina. So that's some really good news as that cold front stalls out to the west. So again, we're gonna. It's still warmer than normal though. Normal goes down as we get into this time of year. So warmer than normal is not hundreds. If it was warmer than normal in July, I think that we would all be really sweating it, figuratively and literally. But it's not. We absolutely were. But when you get into September, above normal, like for example here in Charleston, above normal is 87, 88. That's nothing we can't handle.
Speaking of normal, let me just show real fast. Hurricane season, it's very normal and very expected that in September we're seeing all of this activity out there in the Atlantic Ocean basin, and you could see the Atlantic hurricane season peaks on average statistically September 10th. So at best we are just past halfway.
And if recent history says anything for the Carolina folks, you cannot rule out October, especially early October for the Carolinas. And we could go through the list of storms that's happened since 2015, and it's all been in that first or second week of October. So, don't let your guard down. And to Jared's point, James, for you and I and Dan, living here in the Piedmont and the foothills of North Carolina, when we see those red colors, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be in the 90s. We could see mid 80s. Now the humidity still may be up, but those 90-degree days, I think, are coming to an end soon for a lot of us here in the Carolinas. But even above average right now, is mid to upper 80s. So, it's going to be warm around here. So enjoy it, because we know eventually that first real fall cold front will move through, and Evan will be talking about snow flurries in the mountains. So
I just wish the sun would stay out a little longer. Nothing I can do about that.
Nope. You can't beat the tilt of the earth.
Talk to those folks in Washington. Maybe they could help our time out a little bit.
Right. We'll just
settle in on a time for all year. Maybe that'll help you out with the sunshine.
I hear New Zealand is nice this time of year. They are gaining daylight.
That's right.
Okay, then. Good to know. Put it on my list of places to travel after the pandemic. Well, that does it for this exciting live edition of the Carolina Weather Group. Thanks for joining us. We will have updates on the tropics on Facebook, on YouTube. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, sign up. I don't know, whatever you got to do. Sign a blood oath so you get all the updates from us here at the Carolina Weather Group. And if you do find us on Spotify, then you can check out our panelist playlist. We're, of course, happy to have you listen to our audio podcast wherever you listen to audio podcasts. But Spotify had this cool feature where we could play songs and music. And so we did a special series this summer called Panelist Playlist. And if you want to take a listen to it, head on over to the Carolina Weather Group on Spotify. Look for the episodes that have the little music notes at the end of them. And you can be listening to some smooth Weather Channel local on the 8's jazz with your host, Jared Smith and Tim Pounds. So be sure to check that out. I'm James Brierton on behalf of Scotty, Jared, and Dan. Thanks for joining us. And here again, the rocket launch.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff for St. Jude. Go Dragons. Go Falcon. Godspeed Inspiration4.
Copy, 1 Alpha.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.